We are going to bring on right now Carrie Gleason, who is a longtime organizer and parent living in Flatbush, Brooklyn. And she's going to talk about some very exciting news involving Floyd Bennett Shelter, which is a massive shelter on the edge of Queens, New York, that houses 2,000 plus asylum seekers. I'm just going to bring on Carrie so she can tell us the latest because there's an announcement and also a call for support. So welcome, Carrie Gleason. Hi, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
So please tell people who don't know anything about this, what it is and what just happened and what they can do to support.
Yeah, definitely. So Floyd Bennet Field are federal lands. They're parklands that about a year ago, the Mayor Adams administration decided to put up 4 large tents to house families, hundreds of families. The majority of the people there are kids. It's a flood zone. It's never been a place for families. And I became involved because all of a sudden, about a year ago, dozens of new kids started to arrive at my son's school. And we welcomed these families into our community. And it was really apparent that it was like never a place anyone should live where they were living. We built relationships. Floyd Bennet Field neighbors formed to provide support, humanize the welcoming of these families. And then when Trump won, we realized how vulnerable these families were to Trump's attacks. He declared day one, he's going to start his mass deportation system. He doesn't care if some citizens get wrapped up in it. And we knew that in a sanctuary city like New York City, the families at Floyd Bennet Field were extremely vulnerable. And so our mutual aid turned into a campaign with the residents to call for the families to be relocated safely to other shelters. We did not know if we could win because Adams, we know, is not feeling particularly accountable to communities in New York City at this moment. But somehow a week ago, we were successful, and they announced that they were going to be closing the Floyd Bennett Field shelter by mid-January, and already we know families that have been relocated.
Great. So what does that mean? I mean, that's good, obviously, news, right? But then the question is, oh, well, these people are in shelters, so now what do they do?
Yeah, it's a tough situation. It's like, and the process they have to go through to transfer shelters, we should talk about because it's been a mess. We are organizing for the families to be relocated into shelters that are run by the Department of Homeless Services. When we had thousands of new people arrive about a year ago, they created a 2-tier system. And so many families are being moved to these emergency shelters that are congregate living for families, which is not good. Ironically, it's run by health and hospitals, despite the fact that we know congregate settings of living are not good for health. What we really want is for people to be moved like any unhoused New Yorker into a regular shelter.
Right.
What families really want is to keep their kids in the schools where their kids are thriving. And it's been tougher than we anticipated.
Right. And congregate living is what? What does that mean?
It's a big room that gets subdivided into like little cubicles where the families live.
Right. And I'm going to ask the question that I'm sure you always hear, right? How can we afford that? Where are they going to go? What's your response to kind of those cliched things that from some people are just powerful people who are just evil. And then I think what's dangerous about it, though, is that it actually lands on people who aren't necessarily that political or evil, but they hear it and it sounds kind of like common sense, which is why I think it's important to dispel it.
Yeah. I mean, our governments make choices about money, right? So how can we possibly afford all that money to Israel and not manage to find a bed for a toddler in Brooklyn, New York, which is a very wealthy place that has many, many empty buildings, right? And so they actually have a lot of money in the city. They've put billions of dollars into this process, money that they already had. Adams was sitting on $6 billion that he just wasn't letting to be allocated to schools, to libraries long before any of these lovely families arrived. And they are not doing the most cost-effective thing. So I know families in Brooklyn that are like renting for, anywhere from $2,500 to $4,000 a month. Not affordable. These families are working or looking for places to live. Guess how much they're spending per person at Floyd Bennett Field?
How much?
$383 per person per
Wow.
night.
Wow.
Per night. So this is like $11,000 a month
Like
per
healthcare.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Like the same
amazing.
thing,
Like
yeah.
you could live in the penthouse for what they're spending
Right.
on people. Right. So it's a choice. Like they have
Right.
money, but they refuse to give families housing in this to support families in housing. And that's to say, families are desperate to get out of the shelter system. They're looking for housing, but New York City has had a housing crisis like long before any of the asylum seekers have arrived. And it's a problem that all New Yorkers are facing. And like it's something we need to address, but it's not. We absolutely have the space for these families. Like, for example, my son's school in Brooklyn was under-enrolled. He's been there since kindergarten. He just graduated last year. It was always under-enrolled. We were losing funding. And it was only last year when all of these great kids arrived that we were fully enrolled.
Right.
So
Right.
we have the space. It's just that we're making choices.
Yeah. And how can people support the what's happening right now? Because I know people are moving out, but I think they need some supplies. This is, I guess, for people who are in the New York area.
Yeah. So right now, families have to relocate. They get just a day's notice to pack up all their belongings, walk a half a mile to a bus stop, go from the bus stop to a train to Roosevelt Hotel to wait all day, and then maybe in the middle of the night get transferred to a shelter with all of their belongings. What we really need is help. We need help potentially helping people move their stuff from one shelter to the next. And we also have been giving out hundreds and hundreds of suitcases. This whole relocation process is expensive, and so we're asking for donations at Floyd Bennet Field Neighbors. I think it's in the comment.
Yeah, we will put it. It's in the YouTube description now, right, Brad? Oh, and there it is. Okay, fundraising. So fbfneighbors.org, also in YouTube description. Great. Any final words that you want to share?
I mean, I think this has been a phenomenal effort of asylum seekers and neighbors that are organizing to protect our sanctuary city. And so it's these types of fights. This was a battle against Trumpism. And it's these types of fights that are going to build the organizing infrastructure that we need for the next few years. Our sanctuary city status is threatened right now with Adams saying he wants to pass an executive order to override that. And we need to come together and say that's not who we are.
Right. And the Democrats really need to do a better job. They can't just be slightly less draconian and evil than Republicans. Like that can't be their answer to immigration.
No, not at all. And the truth is the majority of the city council are like, yes, bring families. Our communities need to thrive. And it's really the Adams administration not in alignment with the rest of New Yorkers.
Right. Yeah. Get in line, Adams. Get in line.